Can you guess what I'm going to be talking about today? Hello everybody, my name is Melanie, but all my friends call me Melon. If you want to be friends, all you gotta do is hit the subscribe button down below. Now take your mandatory grain of salt, and let's get started. On the evening of Tuesday, November 15th, 1966, Steve Mallette and Roger Scarberry took their wives Mary and Linda on a late-night drive in Roger's black 57 Chevy. The West Virginia Ordnance Works was a munitions production plant in Mason County, West Virginia that supplied TNT for World War II between 1942 and 1945. The plant was located about 6 miles north of Point Pleasant, where the couples lived, so they decided it would be a good place to spend the night without any need for alcohol. At some point between 11:30 and midnight, the couple spotted something in the road near the old power plant across from the National Guard Armory. On two unsteady legs, the creature rose and waddled behind the powerhouse building, and the group decided to leave. On Route 62 near the armory, the group spotted the creature sitting on a hill and flying over their car. They stated that the creature was about 6 or 7 feet tall, was light gray, had wings 10 feet wide, and not so prominent head with 2-inch wide eyes that glowed red when the light hit them. The couples also stated that the creature that pursued them was very fast and flew about 100 miles an hour as they drove, screeching at them with something that sounded like a record played at a high speed or a squeak of a mouse, only louder, and even scratched the top of the car. They reportedly lost the creature near a local farm owned by a man named C.C. Lewis. The group continued downtown and stopped at Dairyland to collect themselves. Roger and Steve wanted to investigate, while Linda and Mary wanted to go to the police. But they ended up driving back up to investigate anyway. Finding themselves back at C.C. Lewis's farm, the group noticed something that looked like a big dead dog lying in the road and decided to turn around. Once the car was almost fully turned in the other direction, the creature jumped over the car and into the field on the other side of the road. The couples then decided it was time to go to the police, and on their way back to the scene with sheriff, deputies, and city police, the creature was spotted once again in a pasture field with its wings spread out, walking toward the car before taking flight. Back at the dark TNT area, loud squeaking was heard coming from a hill before 2 red glowing eyes were spotted. Immediately, Sheriff Deputy Millard Holstead turned on the headlights of his car and repelled the creature, sending it scurrying into a nearby coal field and disappearing. At approximately 2 in the morning, the sheriff, deputies, and city police investigated the scene, but nothing else of note was found. Holstead mentioned that he saw a cloud of dust near the coal field into which the creature fled. The couples reportedly saw the creature a total of 5 times that night, and the 4 stayed up all night together, being too afraid to sleep. The next day, they went back up to the powerhouse building and discovered hoof-like prints in soft sand. Several publications reported about the strange creature in the Mason County skies, and news of the incident spread quickly. Within the next few days, hundreds of tourists were flooding the area for a glimpse of the mysterious man with wings. Meanwhile, the couples had been dealing with the shock of what they had witnessed, Linda even needing to go to the hospital after going all to pieces the next day. The couple stated for one newspaper about the tourists, "They think it's a big joke. They think we can go out there and it'll come out for us. And I hope others do see it. I hope it scares them as much as it did us. Maybe then they'll believe things exist and we're not dreaming." On November 18th, an article was published titled, "8 People Say They Saw Creature." The article told the stories of the Scarberrys and the Mallettes, as well as those of 2 men who had reportedly sighted the creature. On November 12th, a man named Kenneth Duncan and a few others were digging a grave for his brother-in-law at Reamer Hill Cemetery when he saw something dark gliding through the trees with red reflector eyes and a wingspan of about 10 feet. The next account was that of Merle Partridge, a contractor in Doddridge County, about 100 miles away from Point Pleasant. His TV began acting like a generator, and then his German Shepherd, Bandit, started carrying on something terrible. Merle then shined a flashlight into the meadow near his home and saw a thing with eyes like red reflectors. Bandit's hair then stood straight up before he went chasing after the creature, disappearing into the meadow, never to be seen again. On November 19th, the Huntington Herald-Dispatch published an article titled, "That Mothman. Would you believe a sandhill crane?" Professor of Wildlife Biology Robert L. Smith of West Virginia University told Sheriff George Johnson that he believed the thing people were seeing was simply a sandhill crane. I want you to take a look at this. This is a sandhill crane. This is a sandhill crane at night. I added the little red eyes just to make it a little bit more closer to the descriptions that we've heard of. But you tell me, do you think this is Mothman? Let me know what you think. Moving on. Over the next few days, several more people witnessed a strange winged humanoid with red eyes in the Ohio River area. Included were 21-year-old Marcella Bennett, 19-year-old Raymond Wamsley, 18-year-old Kathy Wamsley, and 15-year-old Ricky Thomas. The four told the police that the huge bird thing was in the yard of the Thomas family home northeast of the TNT area at about 10 p.m. on Wednesday, November 16th. They said that the creature ran at their car before flying away. The sightings were very prevalent in the area until 5:05 p.m. on Friday, December 15th, 1967, exactly 13 months after the Scarberry-Millette encounter. The Silver Bridge, named for its metallic aluminum paint, connected Gallipolis, Ohio to Point Pleasant in West Virginia. It was the coldest day of the year, and the bridge was crowded with rush hour traffic. And suddenly it started to shake and groan and screech before it collapsed in on itself and into the river. The tragedy led to the deaths of 46 people, 9 were injured, and 2 victims were sadly never found. After the Silver Bridge disaster, sightings of the creature seemed to stop. John Keel. Alva John Keel was born in Hornell, New York on March 25th, 1930. Early on in his childhood, he dreamt of being a magician like his idol, Harry Houdini. Later on, however, he started working as an editor at the local paper under the name John A. Keel, which sparked his love for writing. Just know I'm reading from my notes. These are my notes. So that's why I'm looking down all the time. These are my notes. Alright, so in 1947, John left home and hitchhiked from his mother's farm in Perry to Greenwich Village in the city and worked as a writer for 4 years until the Korean War broke out and John was drafted. Later, while stationed in Germany, John contributed to the Armed Forces Network's infamous 1952 Frankenstein's Castle special, in which 3 volunteers entered Frankenstein's castle to search for Frankenstein's monster, who, according to the legend, told on the broadcast, returns every 100 years.
We're shining our light up on the wall as we heard something. You'll excuse the gasp, but our light is fading and it's on something that looks like a statue. Yes, it is just a statue, but an ungodly statue where we're kicking a chain. We're going to try to... This is ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. We are scared because of what fell down on the floor here, but we're going to go up and examine this statue right now. It is a horrible-looking statue, much like the monster, perhaps something put here years ago, maybe the original mold. It is very eerie, to say the least, as this misty moon is coming through the window. But we don't believe in these things, and we're going to walk up and touch this to see perhaps what it could be made of. It may be wax or plaster. No, it couldn't. It seemed to move as we came up upon it. No, this is ridiculous. No. It did move. That it's not wax. I'm getting out of here. Please, God, no. No. Help! Help, please, help! Please. Can't you hear me out there? No. No. No.
The special made the front page of the London Times and caused a monster scare across Europe. John also contributed to another Halloween special at the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt before resigning in 1954 and traveling the world as a journalist, reigniting his love for the esoteric. Throughout his travels, he became exceptionally knowledgeable in the subjects of mysticism, religion, magic, illusion, and cryptozoology. John published a book in 1957 titled Jadoo, recounting his travels before returning home to New York. From then, John worked as a writer and performer, publishing some works under the name Harry Gibbs. In 1966, Playboy hired John to write an article about UFOs for their magazine. Though the article was denied, John dove deep into the subject of ufology, but later rejected the label of ufologist and referred to himself as a demonologist, believing that UFOs were malicious supernatural beings he called ultra-terrestrials. Later that year, John heard the story told by the Millets and Scarberries, and he was immediately intrigued. He first arrived to investigate the sightings in Point Pleasant on December 7th, 1966. Where the Waters Mingle. Mary Hyre was a reporter, columnist, and manager at the Athens Messenger's bureau in Point Pleasant. On November 16th, 1966, she published an article titled "Winged Red-Eyed Thing Chases Point Couples Across Countryside," reporting about the Millets and Scarberries' encounter with the creature. The article appeared on the front page. The next day, Mary published another article titled "Monster Returns to Mason," in which she reported the group of teenagers' sighting of the creature. Also included in the article, however, was Mrs. Thomas's statement that she had a premonition on Monday night that the creature would appear. The article was published on the front page of the Athens Messenger right beside a photo of President Lyndon B. Johnson. A couple articles were swept over to page 41, but not long after that, she published another article titled "Creature Spotted in Daylight, Mason Monster Spotted Again," in which she reports about a man named Tom Urey who said that he saw the creature at around 7:15 in the morning, clear as day. It was the first sighting to take place in the daytime. Again, Mary Hyre's work was on the front page. In a separate article, Mary reported on people in Cheshire who had witnessed flying saucers and lights in the sky. Mentioned in this article was none other than John Keel. In January of 1967, Mary began publishing a series of columns called "Where the Waters Mingle," in which she would report on local supernatural happenings. Starting in March of 1967, Mary regularly sent John letters, and he visited from late March into early April. In June of the same year, Mary traveled to New York City to attend the Congress of Scientific Ufologists, which featured a replica of the Mason County monster. The last letter Mary sent to John was written in August, and the last "Where the Waters Mingle" article was published in November. The Mothman Prophecies. According to John and Mary, interviewees told them that they had been experiencing nightmares regarding the bridge and a flying man, similar to Mrs. Thomas's premonition. Mary had also reportedly gotten several visits from the Men in Black over the 13 months she wrote of the strange occurrences in Mason County. Okay, so I will be covering the Men in Black later, so if you don't know what that is, stay tuned. There will be another video on that, okay? Thank you. Unfortunately, Mary passed away in 1970 at the age of 54. And until her death, she wrote fervently about the collapse of the Silver Bridge. Compiling all his research and findings from his time in Point Pleasant, John published a book titled The Mothman Prophecies in 1975, which he dedicated to his late associate, Mary Hyre. The book uses several quotes from Mary herself and presents the possible connections between the Mothman, the nightmares and premonitions, and how these happenings foretold the tragedy. By 1980, John had received so much recognition for his work that he even appeared on the David Letterman show for an interview.
Welcome, please, John Keel. John, how are you?
In the year 2000, Jeff Wamsley and his friend Donnie Sargent Jr. started the first website dedicated to Mothman called Mothman Lives, and later wrote a book titled Mothman: The Facts Behind the Legend in December of 2001. On January 25th of 2002, the Mothman Prophecies film was released, starring Richard Gere, Laura Linney, and Deborah Messing. That same month, a documentary film was also released under the name Search for the Mothman. In November of that year was the first Mothman Festival. Later in 2003, sculptor Bob Roach unveiled the iconic 12-foot tall stainless steel Mothman statue. This one. In 2005, Jeff opened the Mothman Museum right beside the Mothman statue. In the museum, patrons can find exclusive photos and clippings from the 13 months, as well as props and memorabilia from the 2002 film. On July 3rd, 2009, John sadly passed away at the age of 79. The Chicago Mothman. On October 28th, 2009, NPR published an episode about reports of a giant flying winged humanoid that had started appearing in 2011. The creature was between 6 and 10 feet tall, had a wingspan of over 10 feet, and was covered in fur and leather-like skin, with bat wings and no neck. It was also described as having red, orange, yellow, or green eyes. In some reports, witnesses compared the creature to owls, pterosaurs, and bats. An anonymous witness reportedly found a Mothman footprint on February 22nd of that year. The witness said that he thought it may have been a Bigfoot print until they saw a 9-foot winged creature covered in dark fur. Let me show you this footprint. This is the footprint. I feel like anyone who knows what a boot print looks like would know that this is what a boot print looks like. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That ain't no Mothman print. Sorry, I wish it was, but it's not. He did not step there. Okay? Let me tell you, when I saw that footprint the other day when I was researching this, I was quite upset. I was losing my mind because it's a boot print. Okay, moving on. The Chicago Mothman remains at large as of fall of 2020. And that brings me to the end of this video. The legend of the Mothman. Although it seemed to have only lasted a few months, the impact of those sightings in 1966 and 67 has made a mark on society. Mothman continues to gain more attention each and every day, and the mysterious winged creature is said to still be active in the Ohio River area. As sightings have not stopped, they've only slowed down. On a plaque at the base of the Mothman statue in Point Pleasant, written is this: "On a chilly fall night in November 1966, two young couples drove into the TNT area north of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, when they realized they were not alone. What they saw that night has evolved into one of the great mysteries of all time, hence the Mothman legacy began. It has grown into a phenomenon known all over the world by millions of curious people asking questions. What really happened? What did these people see? Has it been seen since? It still sparks the world's curiosity. The mystery behind Point Pleasant, West Virginia's Mothman." Sorry it was so robotic. I feel like it was really monotone. My voice is not great today. Also, I was really anxious. But, you know, it is what it is. I got it done. And I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. So this is my first video in the series called The Cryptid Catalog, where I talk about cryptids. So I'm going to be keeping a list, and there's going to be one every 2 or 3 weeks or so. So stay tuned. Hopefully I'm going to be able to get them out in time. But yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.